shepherding individual for the next Congress. Congressman Linder.
It's been some time we've been working on this bill, 11, 12 years, and we knew back then that big change doesn't come easily, and this is huge. We knew we'd have to move the country before we could move Washington. We have many of our volunteers from various states with us today. We have volunteer organizations in 50 states. I will be doing some traveling in the next couple of years to those volunteer organizations and encourage them on. But in the meantime, it's time to pass the mantle. I'm proud of the work we did. I'm particularly proud of Rob Woodall, who actually helped write the bill on both books. And he is going to be your champion from now on, and I'm going to gracefully leave the stage. Rob.
I've learned a lot from John Linder over the years, but on no topic have I learned more about the American political process than working with him on the fair tax. And this election showed me what I already knew to be true, but what it's always nice to be reminded of, which is that the American voter still runs this country. The American voter still runs this country. And when it comes to co-sponsoring bills in Congress, when it comes to trying to generate support in Congress, so many people start right here in the halls around us, and they go door to door, and they make their case. But what we learned with the fair tax, and what John taught me, is that the political process is not here in Washington. The political process, anything worth doing, is worth doing from back home. That you cannot twist arms in Washington, D.C., that I have absolutely no arm-twisting power at all. It's the American voter that has the arm-twisting power. And one by one, from the year 1999, when this bill was first introduced, and it had two co-sponsors, John Linder and Colin Peterson from Minnesota, the American public has gone out, and one congressional representative at the time, and said, we need you to co-sponsor the fair tax. So much so that last Congress there were 65 co-sponsors of the fair tax. Here, another 5 in the United States Senate. I've talked with Saxby Chambliss on the Senate side. He is going to be reintroducing the fair tax and championing that bill in January of 2011. We're going to do it here. We're going to bring the largest number of co-sponsors that this fair tax bill has ever seen. Not because we're working on it, but because you're working on it. We're joined here by fair tax leaders from across the nation today, taking time out of their day to come here, which doesn't surprise me, because that's what they always do. That's what they always do. They always put their needs second and the needs of the nation first. And they go out day after day after day, stringing together the nickels and dimes, making it work because it has to work. And if you worry about America, if you worry about where we're headed, if you're concerned that our brightest days don't lie ahead, talk to some of these folks here today who are changing America, one congressional representative at a time, and who, with the passage of the fair tax, are going to change the American economic landscape for generations to come. I'm grateful to all of you all for being here today. I'm just grateful to John for starting this ball. I hope I make you proud as we take it to the next level.
I have a couple folks who are strong proponents of the fair tax and big supporters of John Linder and now Rob Woodall. Make a few comments. Congressman Gingrey,
Phil Gingrey from the 11th Congressional District, Northwest Georgia, and the chairman of the G9, the Republicans in Congress, both our senators and the members of the House of Representatives. And I'll tell you, as I stand here and I listen to my colleagues, Tom Price and of course John Linder and now Rob Woodall, our good friends, of course Steve King, we'll be hearing from him in just a few minutes, our good friend from Iowa, a strong proponent as well of the fair tax. But it just makes me so proud to have known John, to have had the privilege of these 8 years that I have served, to be part of a delegation that is so well respected and looked up to. And when I first started campaigning 10 years ago, went around and people would ask me about the fair tax, it was kind of like, say what? And it didn't take me long. John reined me in pretty quickly as we shared some counties in those days in West Georgia. I don't think enough really can be said about the work that this man has done, the passion, the commitment, the blood, sweat, and tears, as Rob, who is going to do a wonderful job representing this district, Northeast Georgia, and picking up that mantle of the fair tax. And you could tell from his remarks how committed and dedicated, and yes, indeed experienced, having served as John's chief of staff for so many years up here before he became a member, and he's going to be a darn good one. But that plan of going out and getting people engaged all across the country, John told me one time here, where things are so difficult to get rolling, he was determined initially to, every time he signed up a Republican on H.R. 25, he wanted to make sure he had a partner Democrat. And that does make things go slow, doesn't it, John? But it was an effective strategy, and John is going to be retiring, but I'm glad to know that he's going to continue to work on this, because we've had some slow going even under Republican leadership. That's got to stop, right, Rob? And I think with Rob Woodall picking up the torch, it indeed will stop. So again, it's a proud day. I thank my colleagues for even letting me be here with them. I'll continue to work with Rob, and I just want to tell you, and right here in front of John, how much we love him, how much we appreciate him, what a wonderful congressman he has been, character, integrity. I could go on and on and on, but this is one great human being, John, and we appreciate you so much. I'm going to turn it over to my good friend, Steve King.
Well, thank you, Phil. I'm here because somebody had to come that talks a little faster. Really, I believed in the fair tax for a long time, well before it had a name. And as a state legislator, and prior to that, I was reading information, looking across the country, and I found a couple of names that popped up, and John Linder's became the name of the person who was leading on the fair tax. And as a state senator years ago, at an ALEC meeting, I went to find John Linder and introduce myself to him, because I wanted to hear and get to know the man that's led on this for all of these years. And not having any idea, I'd end up in Congress. But one of the first things I did when I got here was reconnect myself to John Linder and sign on to the bill. And of course, I've been a sponsor of H.R. 25 ever since, worked for it, done a lot of events around the state, the Midwest, and around the country. I'll do a lot more, and I intend to do that. And as John decided to retire, which I regret, but I'm sorry to see him go, and I'm glad for all he's done for us. And I look forward to a continuing relationship, and his knowledge base will not be lost from this country. We'll find other ways to tap into that. But Rob stepping up, someone who knows the history and the pattern and the bill and is driven to drive it. I'm very happy to see that this transition is taking place. And I want to be here today as a part of a passing of the torch, and to pat Rob on the back and to congratulate John Linder for all he's done for this country, and commit my efforts to pushing H.R. 25 and working within this team. We have a stand-up guy here, Rob Woodall. I know that now. And a person that's going to drive this. So here's the team that will do it, and here's our congratulations to the man that's done it so well for so long, John Linder. Great.
Got a question? Yeah, about fair tax.
Bill, have you talked at all to leadership about this bill, or maybe to incoming Chairman Camp about maybe doing a possible hearing on the bill next year, or where do things stand? Like, what kind of attention will it get next year?
That's going to depend a lot on the folks here in this room. And what I've heard from leadership, and of course the plan is still coming together, is a commitment to fundamental tax reform. Dave Camp was speaking to the freshmen just this week, talking about his ideas for having that discussion and moving that forward. We've said from day one, that's all we need is that discussion. If we can have the fair tax on a level playing field with any other tax reform bill in this Congress, we will win that debate. And that's what these next 24 months are going to be about, is having that debate here, and then laying the groundwork. Frankly, it's going to matter less what goes on in Congress in this divided state of government. It's about laying that groundwork so that the nation can see it, and we can have